At the beginning of the movie, we see a man holding a woman hostage. He tries to take advantage of her, but she swiftly overpowers her captor and handcuffs him as she is a skilled cop. She calls for backup and orders the man to stand up, leaving him shocked and surprised. Next, we see the same woman, Jessica Shepard, partying with other officers after a successful operation. She heads to the counter for more drinks, and here, we learn from her partner Wilson that she has been promoted to the homicide department. Wilson playfully reminds her not to take him off her speed dial, promising he will always be there for her. He jokingly warns her to be careful, saying the guys in Homicide are mental. At that same moment, this man walks in and interrupts their conversation. He works in the Homicide department and finds Wilson's comment amusing. He makes a comment that annoys Wilson, but Jessica diffuses the tension by asking him to share some of the beer around. After Wilson leaves, Jessica jokingly tells the man he looks awkward, then walks away. Just as she starts dancing with another colleague, a well-dressed man enters, and we learn that he is the police commissioner. He overhears the man complaining that he could have earned a promotion like Jessica if the commissioner had been his mentor. Commissioner John Mills interrupts and challenges him to take a test on the spot to prove he deserves the promotion. He must describe a white man sitting far away in full detail. Jimmy is not pleased, saying he is off duty and only came here to have some fun. The commissioner then gives the task to Jessica Shepard, who immediately describes the man in precise detail. Her accuracy earns praise from the police commissioner and leaves Jimmy embarrassed. Next, the police commissioner orders Shepard to follow him to his office. There, he questions Inspector Shepard about why she almost got killed by a psycho. He criticizes her for going in alone and not following procedure, stressing that she could have been brought before a disciplinary committee instead of being promoted to homicide. Shepard acknowledges her mistake. The commissioner then tells her he is proud to have raised his partner's child and warns her never to repeat such a mistake. That night, she goes to a bar for a drink, but then this man also appears at the bar. Shepard orders a drink and catches this guy's attention. After she passes him her glass, he makes a few flirtatious gestures, and she eventually ends up having an affair with him. When she gets home, her neighbor observes her from her apartment while she gives a wave. Before going to bed, she opens a box containing her childhood dolls and takes out a photo of a dead man with a bloodied face, which leaves her visibly disturbed, because it's that of her father. The next day, Inspector Shepard meets with a psychologist. He asks whether she experiences nightmares, anxiety, insomnia, or panic attacks, but Shepard denies all of it. The doctor explains that he has no personal stake in the evaluation and that it's simply standard procedure, one that will not jeopardize her promotion. Shepard insists she is in perfect mental health, and afterward, she goes to train outside with her coach. Inspector Shepard walks into the station, requesting to meet her new partner, Inspector Del Marco. She is pleasantly surprised when he arrives, realizing they had met earlier at the bar. Del Marco introduces Shepard to her new colleagues including Dale. Next, the partners step out to see Coulter in jail, the same man Shepard arrested at the beginning of the movie. Coulter tells his lawyer that he was entrapped by Shepard, claiming he had no idea she was a police officer. He says she picked him up and lured him to the place where the incident happened. Coulter's lawyer reassures him that they will secure his bail. When Coulter comes out, he whispers to Shepard saying, "I know your little dirty side. I know you. You're me." But then he is quickly whisked away. Inspector Shepard is shocked that Ray Porter would be representing Coulter, but Raymond explained that Coulter's father, the powerful owner of Coulter Pharmaceuticals, with whom he plays golf every week, personally asked him to take on his son's case. Ray asked to speak with Shepard privately, and as soon as Del Marco gave them space, Ray asked Shepard to be careful about him because he could be unpredictable. Shepard, in turn, cautions Ray that Coulter has a history of multiple murders. Ray then confesses that he misses their past and often thinks about the night they spent together. Inspector Shepard is having lunch with her mentor, who badmouths Coulter and talks about how he targets women, picks them up, and kills them. During the conversation, the police commissioner reminds Shepard to stick to her statement that Coulter resisted arrest, even though his lawyer will likely argue that his civil rights were violated. He advises her not to improvise or embellish anything, just keep to the story, and she'll be fine. Shepard continues her therapy session with Dr. Melvin Frank. He asks about her parents, but she tells him they died in a car crash and doesn't understand what that has to do with her job. The doctor then reveals the truth. 25 years ago, her father went on a killing spree that included her mother, before taking his own life. He explains that Shepard has spent most of her life hunting killers, and that's exactly why the past matters. Shepard says she barely remembers her parents anyway. She was raised by John Mills, the police commissioner and her father's former partner. Dr. Frank suggests she may have unresolved anger issues, and Shepard snaps back that she has no such problems and feels fantastic. At home, she pours herself a drink, but just as she starts to enjoy it, she hears strange noises outside. She looks out the window, calls out, and, getting no response, quickly shuts the kitchen windows tight. Back in her room, Shepard opens the same box she examined earlier. She looks at a photo of her father and sets it aside, then sorts through the rest until she stops on a picture of her mother. The emotions hit her, and she keeps drinking, but before long, she feels her vision is blurry and grows drowsy. She wakes up to her phone buzzing the next morning. Del Marco is calling, asking her to meet him at a homicide scene. When she arrives, they're greeted by Wilson, Shepard's former partner from her old unit. The victim appears to have been beaten to death, but Shepard doubts the attack happened at the location and suggests checking the tide charts to confirm. Del Marco mentions that the Marine unit was his old unit and suggests that they go for a boat ride tomorrow. At that moment, Inspector Shepard notices a fresh cigarette burn on the victim's hand and shows it to Del Marco. He quickly orders the team to take photos of it. As the cameras click, Shepard slips into a flashback. She recognizes the victim as one of the men she slept with a few nights before. She has no choice but to force herself to admit it to the team, awkwardly and against every instinct. The autopsy team identifies the victim as Bob Sherman. He was killed by a blunt force blow to the right temple and then beaten further after death. Strangely, there's no trace of the killer, not even a single strand of hair. Del Marco and Shepard head out on the water to investigate some more. Del Marco mentions there was sand in the victim's cufflinks, leading Shepard to suggest he may have been dragged along the beach. After riding for a while, the officers stop at a secluded stretch of shoreline, and there, Shepard is hit with flashbacks of her affair with the victim. Back at the station, Del Marco reports that they still haven't found any solid evidence. Inspector Shepard tells the team to stay alert for more victims between the ages of 20 and 30, but her warning is met with skepticism. Her colleagues dismiss the idea that this case could be part of a serial killing. Later, Shepard is at a bar with Del Marco when Jimmy walks in. Del Marco teases her, calling him her boyfriend, but Shepard quickly corrects him. Jimmy is an ex, and part of the reason she doesn't want to get close to her co-workers anymore. That night at home, she drinks again. The older woman who looks after the place checks in on her before heading to bed. Not long after, Shepard starts to feel drowsy and eventually passes out. Her phone is buzzing again the next morning, as she is summoned to a crime scene. While getting ready, Shepard notices a black eye in the mirror, then touches it and finds a smear of thick, red, blood-like substance on her finger. She rides with Del Marco to the scene. As soon as they reach the body, Shepard pulls on her gloves and examines the victim's arm. Are we seeing this again? The same cigarette burn they found on the previous victim. They decide to pull the body from the water, and as soon as it's lifted out, Shepard spots a tattoo she recognizes. A rush of memory hits her. This is another man she picked up at a bar just a few nights earlier. Back at the station, the system identifies him as Lawrence Gaba, previously arrested for a DUI. The head of the homicide department walks up to Shepard, asking how she knew there was going to be another body. Shepard replies it was because of the cigarette burn, to which Del Marco adds that it's not a simple homicide, and those cigarette burns are actually intentional. Lieutenant Tong says he's not thrilled about the situation, but he's glad they spotted the pattern early. He orders the team to move fast and stop the killer before the bodies start piling up. The forensic team studies the body carefully. Lisa searches for anything that might lead them to the killer. She collects a small drop of blood from behind the victim's ear, and the team agrees it could possibly belong to the murderer. At her next therapy session, Shepard tells Dr. Frank that she's feeling a bit stressed. The doctor suggests it might be related to the tragic death of her parents, but Shepard snaps, saying that it was normal for a 6-year-old to be upset about losing her parents. What stresses her now, she explains, is her first case as an inspector, in which it's clear she had slept with both of the victims. Dr. Frank immediately points out that this might not be a coincidence. She could be in danger and should inform her partner or someone else in her department. Shepard starts walking to her car but senses someone may be following her. She scans the area before unlocking the door, then drops her phone. As she bends to pick it up, a mouse startles her. She tries to shoo it away, then grabs her gun to reach for the phone under the car. At that same moment, someone approaches from behind. Shepard spins around, gun raised, only to see Dr. Frank standing there, gently trying to calm her down. At home, she returns to studying her father's old photos and belongings. Later, she visits her mentor's house, still grappling with the question of why her father took her mother's life. The police commissioner tells her, "Your father loved your mother very much, so much that it twisted him." He admits he probably shouldn't have told her father about his wife's affairs. John Mills then urges Shepard to focus on her case and do her job as expected. At work, Shepard continues analyzing some of the cases with her colleagues. After Del Marco takes over, Dale walks in and asks, "Have we eliminated Shepard as a suspect?" Because they know she slept with the first victim. He presses her about the second victim, mockingly commenting that the victim looks cute. Enraged, Shepard kicks him in the back. Del Marco pulls her outside, insisting it was just a bad joke and that she should move on. But in that moment, Shepard admits that she did in fact sleep with the second victim. Del Marco is stunned and angrily demands to know why she kept it from him. Later, they meet with their department head and the police commissioner. He suggests that the killer could be following Shepard at the bars where she meets her victims, possibly even stalking her. When he asks, she admits that she's felt watched lately. The commissioner advises against taking her off the case, instead recommending that she play along as if it were just a coincidence. After the meeting, Shepard thanks the police commissioner for backing her up, but he seems more concerned about her safety. He warns her to be careful around men, including Del Marco, and advises keeping her social life separate from her work. Shepard assures him she can take care of herself, but John isn't convinced and leaves. The partners drive to the bar to continue their investigation. The bartender approaches, excitedly saying he remembers Shepard from her previous visits and can't believe she's a cop, claiming she was too attractive and looked like a prostitute. Shepard angrily drags him toward the counter, snapping, "We're not here to discuss your opinion of me." She then shows him a photo of the second victim, asking who he had seen the victim with in the bar. The bartender replies that Shepard was the only person he saw the victim with, aside from his girlfriend. Shepard looks disappointed. Next, Shepard visits the victim's apartment. This triggers flashbacks of the time she spent there with him. The landlord complains that the victim was always late on his rent and would play drums at night, adding that it served Mr. Gaba right. When Shepard asks if Gaba had many visitors, the landlord replies, "The last person I saw him with looked a lot like you." Del Marco asks what she found, and Shepard replies, "Looks like we spent the whole day tracking down me." Del Marco responds, "At least we have a suspect." Shepard doesn't like the comment, and though Del Marco insists it was just a joke, she angrily walks off to her apartment. The moment Shepard gets home, she notices her door is already open and quickly draws her gun. She enters quietly and sees a male figure, reaching for a drink. Raising her gun, she approaches, but then realizes it's Jimmy, her ex-boyfriend, who somehow managed to get in. Jimmy says he's missed Shepard and wants to touch her. Shepard refuses the idea, and when he won't listen, she grabs her Yawara stick and strikes him to the ground, hitting him on the nose. Seeing the blood, she apologizes and hands him a napkin, but Jimmy shouts, "Get away from me," berates her with more words, and storms off with his bloodied nose. The next day, Shepard visits the prison to speak with Coulter. He tells her that everyone has the capacity to kill, it's just a matter of who can control it. At that moment, Coulter's lawyer descends the stairs. Ray is furious that Shepard engaged his client in his absence and threatens her with legal action. When Shepard asks for an explanation, he insists she come to his apartment on Sunday morning for clarification. All the while, Del Marco stays out of sight, listening to everything. Shepard goes to Lisa for updates. Lisa reveals that the drop of blood didn't match the victim and, interestingly, isn't in the system. She urges Shepard to find a sample that will match the killer's blood. Later, Shepard is making coffee at work when Dale Becker shows up, pestering her about why she's still on the case when she should have been the prime suspect. He brings up the victims, asking if she had thought about harming them while sleeping with them. Then he taunts her, suggesting he knows she wants to hit him too, and asks if she really does. Shepard drives to Del Marco's place. He seems busy but invites her in. As soon as she enters, she slams the door and pushes him back, angrily demanding why he would tell Dale about her and the victims. Del Marco quickly protests, insisting he would never betray their trust. Shepard is dumbfounded. She apologizes and starts to walk away, but Del Marco shuts the door before she can leave and guides her back into the living room. He makes some food for them and carefully places a bite in her mouth. For a brief moment, passions flare between them, but Shepard quickly cuts it off. When she gets home, a package of roses awaits at her door. The card reveals it's from Ray Porter, who wants to see her tomorrow. Shepard kicks the package into her apartment and pours herself a drink. She looks at the card, then at the roses. Grabbing them, she begins cutting the stems, accidentally cutting her finger as drowsiness overtakes her. Her neighbor peeks in again, and Shepard collapses. She wakes up amid the mess she created, staring at the card once more. Shepard drives to Ray's house and finds the door open. After receiving no response, she enters, calling out for him. Eventually, she discovers him sitting in a hot tub on his property. At first, she thinks it's a setup for Ray to spend time with her. Shepard steps closer and picks up his shirt, only to see it soaked in blood. Rushing forward, she realizes that Ray has been killed. The killer's signature is clearly visible on his right hand. She is horrified and starts screaming. Next, Inspector Shepard is about to be interrogated as a suspect in the case. Meanwhile, the head of Homicide believes she should be removed from the investigation. The police commissioner asks if there is any physical evidence against her, but there isn't. He emphasizes that he will not take Shepard off her first homicide case, warning that doing so could ruin her career. Shepard is back in therapy, asking whether it's possible for someone to do terrible things without realizing it, since the murders always happen on nights when she's been heavily drinking. She tells Dr. Frank that there's been another killing, and that she's now the prime suspect. She had also slept with this latest victim. Dr. Frank pushes back, saying that just because her father was involved in terrible things doesn't mean she should assume the same about herself. But Shepard insists it's more than a fear. She knows it's possible, because she has violent dreams and hears voices in her head. In one of her dreams, Shepard stalks a man from the bar and pulls out her gun to attack him. She ends up shooting all 3 of her victims before waking abruptly from the nightmare. The next morning, Shepard cuts her finger and collects a blood sample. She takes it to Lisa at the lab, requesting it be processed immediately. Lisa warns that it normally takes 24 hours, but Shepard insists she needs it sooner. Lisa promises to skip some steps to get it done. After Shepard leaves, Lisa instructs her assistant to start the process and then makes a call to someone unknown. When Shepard gets home, she looks in the mirror and imagines herself as the killer. She leaves the house and takes a walk through a bushy area in town. At one point, she feels like she's being followed, but when she turns around, no one is there. Later, back home and drinking again, her phone starts buzzing. She doesn't answer, but hears footsteps outside and quickly gets out of the bathtub to investigate. Grabbing her gun, she approaches the door, but stops when she sees the doorknob moving. She peers through the peephole and, seeing a man standing there, swiftly opens the door, only to find Del Marco. Del Marco asks if she's okay, explaining that he tried calling her but got no response. He admits he has a bad feeling about tonight, sensing that someone might be following him as well. Gripped by fear from her nightmares, Shepard points her gun at him, demanding that he leave. He warns her to put the gun down, noting that she's been drinking too much lately. With skill, he disarms her, but Shepard, still under the influence, warns that everyone who kisses her ends up dead. Del Marco stares at her, unsure whether to be worried or confused. After giving her a kiss, Shepard pleads with him not to leave. Del Marco reassures her that he will stay, holding her tightly until she falls asleep. He lifts her and places her gently on the couch. Unsure of what to do next, Del Marco lights a cigarette and simply watches her. Shepard wakes up to her phone buzzing again. She answers, but there's only silence on the other end. Scanning the room, she realizes Del Marco isn't there. Instead, she finds a plate littered with cigarette butts and ashes. She stares at it, with worry etched on her face. Later, Shepard is in the police commissioner's office. He instructs her to face the wall and recall the bulletin board behind her. She counts the photos, saying there are 3 black and white and 2 color, but she's wrong. It's actually 2 black and white and 3 color. The commissioner is unimpressed and questions why knowing the victims would cause her to fall apart. John Mills then orders her to focus on her job. That night, Shepard is drinking again when her neighbor glances at her in surprise and quickly turns off the light. Suddenly, Jimmy appears, observing her from behind. He grabs her Yawara stick, but she pleads with him to go home. She snatches a pin while he grabs her gun, joking that they're about to rumble. He pursues her, and Shepard escapes into her bedroom and locks the door. But Jimmy breaks the glass window to unlock it, and Shepard passes out. When she wakes, she finds the pin on her bed, and the Yawara stick in her hand. Then she notices a hand with a cigarette burn. Moving back in horror, she discovers Jimmy's lifeless body lying in her bed. Shepard is brought in before the Special Investigations Division. An investigator enters to interrogate her, asking where she was the night Bob Sherman was killed. Shepard replies that she doesn't know, shocking him. He then asks the same question about the night Lawrence Gaba was killed, and again she says she doesn't know. When asked about Ray Porter, she gives the same answer. When Jimmy's file is placed on the table, Shepard begins to break down. The investigator asks, "Jessica, did you kill these men?" This time, she completely loses herself, collapsing in tears. Next, we see Shepard in jail, lying on her bed. She reflects on how she was a good kid born to bad parents, admitting she's been running from that truth her entire life. Suddenly, the prison door opens, and the police commissioner enters. He asks the doctor if Shepard has been given any medication, to which the doctor replies no. The commissioner says he suspected as much, explaining that her problem isn't in her head but in her bloodstream. He presents a report from the forensics lab, revealing that Shepard's blood was screened and found to contain rohypnol, an incapacitating drug. The commissioner instructs Shepard to get dressed, informing her that she has been granted bail. He thanks the doctor for his help, noting that his services are no longer needed. Shepard is left confused, trying to process what just happened. The police commissioner asks Shepard for a media headline, telling her this is the biggest test of her life. After she responds, he adds the detail of a drug-induced blackout, which made it physically impossible for her to have committed the crimes. He asks, "What do the victims have in common?" And she replies, "It's me." The commissioner then asks who is expected to know her whereabouts at all times, Del Marco, but Shepard insists she doesn't believe he's the killer. The commissioner points out that all of this started after she began working with Del Marco. The police commissioner drives Shepard, and they debate whether Del Marco could be the suspected killer. Shepard has flashbacks of times she felt followed, beginning to suspect that Del Marco might have been stalking her, or even drugging her. They arrive at Del Marco's place. He is happy to see Shepard and lets her in, but the police commissioner also enters, asking why Del Marco, as her partner, didn't visit her in jail. Del Marco is confused and insists he did. He explains that he was brought in for interrogation, during which he declared Shepard's innocence. He continues, arguing that he was denied access to her and reinforcing his point to Shepard. Del Marco asks the police commissioner why he's pouring drinks. John Mills responds that it looks like Del Marco had been having some wine before they arrived and asks what he was celebrating. The commissioner says he'd like to propose a toast to Shepard and asks if Del Marco has a problem with that. Del Marco says he doesn't and drinks after the toast. They watch him closely but don't drink their own wine. Then, the commissioner mentions the word rohypnol and asks if Del Marco knows what it is. Del Marco acknowledges that he does and even refers to it as roofies. The police commissioner recalls that Del Marco once had a girlfriend who overdosed on roofies and died, which surprises Shepard since he had never mentioned it. Del Marco asks what's going on, and Shepard explains that someone has been following her and drugging her. Meanwhile, Del Marco starts feeling strange. John asks if he's anxious, and Del Marco asks them if something was put in his wine. At that moment, the commissioner discovers some roofies in Del Marco's cabinet. Del Marco snatches them from his hands, vehemently insisting, "This is not my stuff." The commissioner then finds a Yawara stick, apparently part of the killer's tools. Del Marco is left speechless. He reaches for his gun but realizes it's not on him. As he tries to grab it, Shepard moves first, ready to strike him. But the police commissioner intervenes, urging her to hold back to avoid leaving bruises. The police commissioner grabs the incapacitated Del Marco and seats him in a chair, telling Shepard that they're in this together and that she will now understand what's happening. He claims that Del Marco is a cop killer who requires a special form of justice, leaving Shepard bewildered by the scene unfolding before her. The commissioner cleans up the area and attempts to establish a motive for Del Marco's supposed crimes. He mentions remorse, but also points out that Del Marco was unlucky in love, presenting it as a plausible reason for the alleged crimes. At that moment, Shepard notices that the crime scene looks just like the one from when her father died many years ago. She points her gun at the police commissioner and demands that he step away from Del Marco. Surprised, he says, "Don't you understand? I'm doing this for you." He begins recounting her father's rage, which led to her mother's death. That's when he realizes that Del Marco has escaped the room. He slaps Shepard across the face and chases after him. He starts searching the area, but Del Marco has hidden in the understructure and is trying to escape. Shepard follows, determined to catch both men. When Del Marco crawls onto the dock and finally exhales in relief, he looks up in horror to see the police commissioner already waiting to ambush him. John Mills lights a cigarette and walks toward Del Marco, blowing gently on it before pressing it into the back of Del Marco's hand, leaving the same distinctive burn marks seen on the serial killer's victims. At that moment, Shepard approaches, gun raised and a cell phone in her hand, accusing her mentor of being the killer all along. John Mills blurts out that none of those men were good enough for Shepard, or her mother. He claims that they both shared the same emotional problem, and he cured her mother. He says he had to stop her because she was ruining her life and her husband's. Shepard then realizes that he also killed her father and accuses him of being behind the ongoing serial killings. The police commissioner insists that he stopped for all these years, and that he can stop again. Suddenly, the police commissioner pulls out his gun and threatens to kill Shepard if she doesn't surrender hers, arguing that if he kills her, it would be considered killing a fleeing felon, but if she kills him, it would be murder. At that moment, a voice comes through the phone, loudly announcing that they heard everything the commissioner said and are on their way. Shepard identifies the person as Officer Wilson, her old patrol partner. The police commissioner realizes what has happened. He lowers his gun and glances at Del Marco, who is still frozen in fear. The commissioner walks to the end of the dock and congratulates Inspector Shepard for a job well done, for outsmarting the master. He adds that this also proves he did a good job raising her. Then, he says there's one final test she must pass and immediately points the gun at his own head, making Shepard scream. He shifts his aim toward Del Marco, but Shepard acts first, pulling the trigger and killing him. She is overcome with sadness at having eliminated her mentor. Just then, the police rescue team arrives to assist her and Del Marco. Shepard looks at Del Marco and apologizes for having suspected him of being the killer.